Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending today for our webinar. My name is Annie Randolph. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm a neuroresource facilitator with the Brain Injury Alliance of Iowa. As you see on your GoToWebinar control panel, you have two options for listening today, mic and speakers or telephone. So if you have trouble listening with either of those options, please feel free to switch and see if that helps. We'll be recording this webinar and we'll have it archived on our website and our YouTube page in the coming days. Also, we will save about 10 minutes at the end of the presentation for any questions you may have. Feel free to go ahead and write those questions in the question box, and we will get to those at the end of the session. No CEUs will be provided for this webinar. However, a certificate of attendance will be sent to all attendees following the session through your email, so please look out for that. Also, we have attached the PowerPoints for this webinar in the handouts portion of your control panel, so feel free to print those off for later use. Now I would like to introduce our guest speaker today. Reyma McCoy McDeid is the Executive Director with Central Iowa Center for Independent Living. She has carved out a unique career in employment services, executive coaching, nonprofit consulting, and education. Additionally, she is the founder and chair of Iowa Disability Votes Count, a statewide initiative that works to engage voters with disabilities and educate elected officials on the issues that impact Iowa's largest minority community. She holds a master's degree in nonprofit administration with concentrations in business and human services and is working towards an MA in education. Thank you all for participating today, and I will go ahead and let her get started.
All right, thank you, Annie. I'm so glad to be able to be with everyone this evening to talk about a very important topic of conversation, especially considering the fact that we are less than 3 weeks away from a major election for our country. And so thank you for joining this evening, and I hope that you find that our hour together is beneficial for you. So I will talk very briefly about what Iowa Disability Votes Count is. We are a 501c3 nonpartisan organization, and our focus is voters with disabilities, and our objective is to mobilize Iowa's largest minority group to vote. And what does that mean? Well, that means that in this state currently there are over 315,000 people who are eligible to vote who also experience a disability. Now, between 6 and 10% of that portion of Iowa's population votes. And so we really want to get that number up, and we want to get that number up beginning with this particular election. And so what we're going to talk about this evening are voters' rights, and we're also going to talk about the importance of participating in the political process. And we'll touch a bit on how to do that outside of or in addition to voting, because participating in the political process is about more than just voting at the presidential election. There are many, many opportunities to vote at the local and the state and the federal level. And we'll talk a little bit about each of those junctures. And we'll also talk about the different ways that we can vote in the state of Iowa. We're really fortunate in Iowa to have a variety of ways of casting our ballots, and are able to pick the mode that most suits our needs. And so we'll touch on the various different ways of voting this evening. But let's begin with a little bit of touching on with regards to some of the frustrations that many of us perhaps experience with regards to our political representation at the legislative levels, both state and federal. And so what I'm going to flash across our screens are some news articles that I have retrieved that kind of illustrate some of the frustration that many people experience with government and the the notion that many people hold that we're actually kind of in a state of crisis at our legislative levels. And so here we've got a poll that gauges approval rates for Congress, and just another illustration with regards to that, and it charts the decline of approval with Congress. And don't want to leave our state legislators out of the loop. Certainly, we've got an editorial here that focuses on some of the frustration with regards to what happened with our state legislation during the 2016 session. It says Iowa lawmakers came, saw, did little. Again, that's an editorial, but again, we're talking about some of the frustrations that are experienced with our elected officials. And next, we've got a piece titled, "Is This the Worst Congress Ever?" And I'm not sharing these with everyone because I want to be a downer. And then here we've got an illustration with regards to why people don't vote. And busyness, disability, lack of interest, et cetera, are touched on. But engagement certainly is a big reason why people don't vote. And what that leads to is entire populations of people not voting. And if that's because of disengagement, what's the why behind that, with particular regard to people who are eligible to vote experience a disability? But the reality that we are facing, if we are in a state where 315,000 people experience a disability and are eligible to vote, but only between 6 and 10% of those individuals are voting, what we've got are entire segments of that population who are overlooked and underrepresented and not actively participating in the political process. And what that results in is a body of elected officials that don't necessarily represent their constituents, because there are populations of constituents that are not casting their ballots. If we increase the number of voters who participate in the political process, we're going to increase the likelihood that people who are elected more closely represent the need of all U.S. citizens, including those of us who experience a disability. And so what Iowa Disability Votes Count feels is that we've got a wonderful opportunity to mobilize Iowa's largest minority group to vote. So in addition to being the largest minority group in the state, people with disabilities are the largest minority group in the country and in the world. We comprise approximately 20% of the world's population. And what that looks like in the US is approximately 56 million people experience a disability. In the state of Iowa, the number varies between, I believe, 250 to 480,000 individuals. And that really depends on if you are including individuals who experience mental illness, which is indeed a disability. So again, we are the largest minority group in the state, country, and world. And so let's start talking about what your rights are as a citizen who is able to vote. And we're going to kind of get into the drier section of this presentation, but this is information that's really important to know, because the reality is that one of the biggest barriers to people with disabilities voting are misconceptions. And so I want to share these bullet points with everyone so that we can clear up some major misconceptions with regards to voter rights and their intersection with people with disabilities. And so, if your name is on the list of registered voters, you have the right to vote without providing proof of your identity or residence. Now, what does that mean? That means that if you are a registered voter and you appear to cast your ballot, you do not need to show your ID. And so we are a state where you do not have to show your ID in order to vote. There are states in the country where you do, but Iowa is not one of those states. So very important to keep in mind. And another wonderful aspect of the state of Iowa is that you can register to vote on election day. So if that's something that you're not able to do up till November 8th, you can go to your polling place and you can register and vote that same day. And if you haven't registered to vote, if you haven't registered to vote, or you did register, but your name isn't on the registration list, you have the right to vote at your district's polling location after you sign a registration form and provide written proof of your residence. And so that would mean bringing a utility bill or something along those lines that has your name and your address, your current address where you live, with you to your polling place so that you are able to vote. And another important point, if you are not able to read for whatever reason, you have a learning disability, or you experience some type of barrier to reading, or you have difficulty understanding English, or you are not able to read because you are blind, you have the right to receive assistance when you're voting, and you can get that assistance from anybody except for your employer or a representative of your union. And what I mean by representative of your union is if you are employed and a member of a union, you cannot have a union buddy or that kind of thing assist you, but you can have absolutely anybody else assist you with reading your ballot while you are casting your vote. And all polling places need to be accessible to all voters. One thing that is great in Iowa is anybody who is eligible to vote can vote can do what's known as curbside voting. And so what that looks like is you literally drive or are driven to your polling place and pull up to the curb, and you will be met with two officials from the polling place, one from each party, and they will come out with a ballot for you to fill out. You don't have to leave your car at all. They take the ballot in to the polling place and they cast that for you. We highly recommend, if you are going to choose to do curbside voting, that you contact your county auditor's office beforehand, let them know which polling place you are going to and what time you plan to be there. We also recommend that you not go to your polling place during a peak hour, around the noon hour, around dinner time, simply because there's going to be a high volume of traffic, and it might take a while for those two officials to meet you out at your car and assist you with casting your ballot. And if you want to vote and for whatever reason you don't have a piece of mail that verifies your name and your address, you can actually vote by provisional ballot. And so that's a wonderful resource as well. You may also bring an unofficial sample ballot into the polling place. Now, depending on what county you're in, the newspaper that is most widely read in your county is going to print a sample ballot for your county in their paper. and you can use that as a guide when you go and actually fill out your own ballot. And it's really great because it kind of alleviates any surprises with regards to what that ballot's going to look like. You'll with that sample ballot, you will have an understanding of what that ballot's going to look like and what elections or what candidates you are going to be choosing from. And if you are in a county that uses voting machines and you are not able to use that machine because of a disability or any other reason, you may request a paper ballot. And if for whatever reason you make a mistake on your ballot or spoil your ballot, you have the right to request a replacement ballot from your election officials. Excuse me. If you anticipate experiencing difficulty in filling out your ballot appropriately, you can request assistance from anybody, with the exception of your employer or an agent from your union. And so if you need someone to help you fill out that ballot, it is legal in the state of Iowa for you to have that assistance. And you have the right to not be solicited by a candidate or anyone supporting a particular political party as long as you are within 300 feet of the entrance of the polling place that you are going to be casting your ballot at. And if you are eligible to vote in a ward or district, but you don't have documented proof of your residence, you can actually bring someone with you who's eligible to vote in your area to verify that you live where you say that you live. And that person doesn't even need to be a registered voter, but they do need to provide proof that they live in the same area as you. And they also need to sign a statement that says that or verifies that you live at the address that you say that you live at. And so let's start talking about the different ways of voting in the state of Iowa. You can vote in person, obviously, on Election Day, which is November 8th this year, from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. at your precinct's polling site. And to find out where your polling site is, you can simply go to your county elections website or give their office a call. And you can vote early at your county auditor's office. And early voting is actually underway right as we speak. It began on September 27th. It always begins in the state of Iowa 40 days prior to the general election or the primary election. And you can do this during normal business hours at any of Iowa's 99 county auditors' offices. Additionally, you can vote at a satellite station. Satellite stations tend to be in some of the larger counties like Polk, Blackhawk, etc. And satellite stations tend to be in areas that have a predominant population of one particular type. And they can be at a grocery store or a shopping mall, a church, that kind of thing. And just call your county auditor to find out if your county has satellite stations and when they are open. I can tell you that here in Polk County, there will be 11 satellite stations, and they are located. They're going to be located at libraries and a few community centers. Again, this is information that you can get specific to your county your county by contacting your county auditor's office. And you can vote by mail. And what you need to do is just request an absentee ballot. You can, go to the Secretary of State's website and download a absentee ballot request form. Fill that out and mail it to your county auditor, and they will send you an absentee ballot, and then you can fill that out and then you mail that in. So that's a great option for folks who, for whatever reason, are not planning on voting on election day. Many people who experience developmental disabilities or have mental health issues that create anxiety for them with regards to being in environments with lots and lots of people, or unexpected situations, find that absentee ballot as an option for casting their vote is a wonderful resource. And then again, curbside voting. Not that many states offer this service to voters. And again, I highly recommend that if you are going to vote by curbside, you just connect with your county auditor's office, and so that they can let so that they can let the officials at your polling place know that you are coming, so that they can meet you with that ballot. I'm going to kind of reiterate some very important points, because I want to make sure that you take these points away with you, and that they eradicate any misconceptions that you might have. Again, if you need help filling out your ballot, your registration form, or mailing any of those documents, you can ask someone to assist you. And I know that we've got some caregivers who are participating in the webinar. You, as a caregiver, are able to assist your client in filling out their ballot. As long as you are not their employer or an agent of their union, you are able to provide them with that support. And we'll talk a little bit more about supports that caregivers can provide clients here in a few moments. And so, why participate in the political process? I know that many people feel like their vote doesn't count. A lot of people feel like they're kind of outside of the whole process. And also, there are a fair number of people who might simply feel overwhelmed by the whole process, and feel that it's the better choice for them to just kind of stay out of it. But I want to talk about opportunities to vote at every level, because oftentimes it's local elections and state elections where we can participate and really impact the what happens in our lives on a day-to-day basis here in Iowa. And so, with regard to local elections, if we're registered to vote, we can participate in school board elections, city council, county supervisor, sheriff, etc. And here in Polk County, and I believe in Johnson County recently, the topic of raising the minimum wage has led to very robust conversation. And we elect our county supervisors, and they are the ones that kind of go to bat for us with regards to that type of issue and other issues as well. And so if we are participating and voting for our county supervisors, then we are in effect participating in issues that impact how much people get paid. And so that's a very important thing to consider when we are thinking about whether or not voting is a meaningful thing. And also, it's important to point out that, especially at the local level, elections can be so close that an individual can win an election by as few as 10 votes. And so certainly in those instances, every vote does indeed count, and all the more reason for us to participate. Now, with regard to state elections, we are able to vote for our state representatives, and we are able to vote for state senators, and there are also various other opportunities to cast our vote with regards to issues that impact state government. And in Iowa, we have 100 representatives. and we have 50 state senators. And currently, our state Senate has a Democratic dominant, is dominated with Democrats, and our state House, which is where our representatives do their work, is currently dominated with Republicans. And so our state representatives are kind of, well, definitely our voice at the state capitol. They take our questions, comments, concerns to the capitol, and have robust conversations on the House and Senate floors with regards to the issues that impact us. And I can tell you from personal experience that any citizen can go to the state capitol and reach out to their state representative or state senator and have conversation with them right then and there with regards to the issues that impact them. And I've also heard from our state legislators that they depend on their constituents reaching out to them, and giving them a heads up with regards to the issues that impact them. Our elected officials at the state level are bombarded on a daily basis with regards to a variety of issues, and it makes it much more meaningful to them when they are hearing about these issues from their constituents. So that's a very important point to keep in mind. There are rallies that are held on a very regular basis at the state capitol when our legislators are in session, and that those are great opportunities to go to the capitol with other individuals who share our passion with regards to particular issues, and visit with our state legislators and actually educate them about issues that they may need assistance in having a greater understanding of. So, and then at the federal level, we've got U.S. congressional seats that we vote for, and we also have the U.S. Senate. And so in the state of Iowa, we have 4 districts, and each district is represented by a congressman or a United States representative. And here in the 3rd district, we are represented by David Young, and excuse me. We will also have opportunity to vote on November 8th for our Congress seats. And additionally, each state has 2 U.S. senators, including Iowa. And this particular election cycle, we will have opportunity to vote with regards to the Senate seat that is currently held by Senator Chuck Grassley. And so if you have been following the issues with regards to the seat with the Supreme Court post Justice Scalia's death, and the fact that seat is still open, that has certainly been a hot topic of conversation, and Senator Grassley has been at he's kind of been at the helm of those conversations. And so this is an opportunity to, I guess, if you want to show your approval to Senator Grassley with regards to the decisions that he's made with regards to that seat, casting your ballot for him. And if you are frustrated with the decisions that he's made with regards to that issue, getting educated about his opponent, former Lieutenant Governor Patty Judge. And then obviously there's the presidential election. And this year we've got as Republican Donald Trump, and as a Democrat former Secretary Hillary Clinton, and certainly don't need to get into the details of that particular campaign. I think that we all have access to a wealth of information with regards to both of those candidates, and so, but certainly very important to participate in the presidential election as well. And so, in summary, why participate? Especially for those of us who experience disability. There can be the misconception that if one has a disability, particularly an intellectual disability or another kind of disability that impacts that individual's cognitive functions, that they, for whatever reason, are no longer a citizen. And that's absolutely not true. The only reason why someone with a disability would not be eligible to vote would be because they have stood before a judge and the judge has declared them not competent to vote here in the state of Iowa. So if a person has a disability, they are still able to vote, with the exception, again, of those few individuals who have been deemed not able to vote by a judge. And so if you have a disability, you are still a citizen. And one of the most primary ways of exercising your citizenship is by voting. And obviously, when we vote, we are choosing our leaders. And so I'll give a brief story, and it ties into how Iowa Disability Votes Count came into being. Earlier this year, prior to the privatization of Medicaid, in my role as executive director of Central Iowa Center for Independent Living, we were inundated with phone calls from clients and other individuals with disabilities who are Medicaid members and were confused as far as what was going to be happening to their services once privatization occurred. And in addition to feeling confused, there was a lot of frustration about the whole process. And the big question that we asked at CISL of individuals who expressed their anger about Medicaid privatization was, did you vote? Do you vote? When are you registered to vote? And unfortunately, more often than not, we were told, no, I don't vote because my vote doesn't count. No one listens to me anyways, that kind of thing. But as we have been talking about this evening, votes do absolutely count. And if we're talking about Iowa's largest minority group, and only a fraction of those individuals voting, that certainly impacts what our leadership looks like. And so imagine how the state of Iowa would look as far as our leadership was concerned if all 315,000 of us who are eligible to vote got ourselves registered and actually cast a ballot. That would certainly impact the face of leadership in the state of Iowa. And if you don't remember anything that I say this evening, please remember that. That's a huge number of people, and we want to make sure at Iowa Disability Votes Count that moving forward in future elections, that voters with disabilities are taken as seriously by our leaders as any other major constituency of voters. We want the disability vote to be spoken about just as much as women's vote or the Black vote or the LGBT vote, et cetera. And so if we vote, we get to choose our leaders. And so that's a very powerful thing. And we can use our vote to communicate with our elected officials. If we're not satisfied with the performance of an official that represents us, we can let them know by casting our ballot. And we can also, in addition to casting our ballot, we can write them and tell them why we're choosing to vote in a particular way. and then obviously, if we are satisfied with the work that an official that represents us is doing, we can cast our ballot and indicate as such. And it's always helpful to, again, write a letter to that individual and let them know why you're choosing to vote for them, because that information can ensure that they continue to do what it is that garnered your vote in the first place. And I'm gonna go back. I don't have a slide specific to caregivers, but let's talk about that a little bit, because many caregivers, many providers of service are employed by nonprofit organizations, 501c3s, and we are required by federal law to remain nonpartisan. And my experience has shown me that many service providers or caregivers kind of take that to the extreme and think, well, I can't participate in any kind of conversation with my clients, my consumers, my survivors, etc., that has anything to do with politics because I have to be nonpartisan. Well, you absolutely can participate in conversation with your client. You can have conversation with your client with regards to registering to vote, the different ways of voting, where to get information about how to vote, where to get information about where candidates stand with regards to their issues. The only thing that we cannot do as service providers or caregivers is steer our clients in the direction of voting for particular persons or particular parties. And so that's important. If we are providing services to individuals and we are using the word independence as we provide those services, and we are supporting clients to be independent in their lives, and we're not supporting our clients by engaging them in conversations about their voting rights as a citizen, that's a missed opportunity. And we at Iowa Disability Votes Count, we want to make sure that service providers, especially those who use the words client independence, are incorporating supports with regards to voting when appropriate, whenever possible. Supporting clients to be independent is so much more than supporting a client to go grocery shopping or go to karaoke on Thursday. This voting is the kind of the core of independence and citizenship. And so now, with regard to participating in the political process, we at Iowa Disability Votes Count want to ensure that people understand that you can do so much more than vote. You can actually run for office yourself. And an example of that is there's an Illinois Senate seat that is currently being contested for by two candidates, one Democrat, one Republican, and both candidates experience disability. And this is kind of it's definitely an unprecedented situation. And it's our hope at Iowa Disability Votes Count that more people with disabilities throw their hats into the race, so to speak, because who better to represent Iowa's largest minority community than other Iowans who have disabilities. And then for folks who might feel that running for office is a bit daunting, there are multiple opportunities within the Iowa GOP and the Iowa Democratic Party to volunteer, to assume volunteer leadership positions, that kind of thing. We absolutely need citizens with disabilities to participate in those capacities, because it sends a message, not just to the political parties but to society as a whole, that people with disabilities, again, are citizens, and can play very important roles in the political process. And so I would like to open up our webinar for any questions that anybody might have.
We'll go ahead and see if anything has come in. And while you guys are finishing up your questions, if you have any to enter, just a reminder that the Brain Injury Alliance is here to help support individuals who have experienced brain injury, or if you are a caregiver or family or friend of someone who is in need of resources or just finding out answers to your questions. We are here to help with that. And I don't see any questions coming in right now, but I do want to thank everyone for coming. Reyma, do you have any last thoughts before we wrap up?
Well, my contact information is on the screen right now. 515-599-VOTE. Very easy phone number to remember. Please give a call at any time. Our Facebook page is, you can find us by just entering Iowa Disability Votes Count into the search field on Facebook. Please consider liking our page and keeping up with the activities that we're engaging in. And certainly the day after Election Day, we're not going to go anywhere. Our intention, again, is to mobilize Iowa's largest minority group to participate in the political process at every available opportunity. And those opportunities don't just arise every 4 years. There's opportunity on a very regular basis to participate in the political process, and you can keep up with that by liking our Facebook page. Again, Iowa Disability Votes Count. And you can also reach me by email at iowadisabilityvotescount@gmail.com.
And just a reminder that the webinar was recorded, so please feel free to check out our website in the coming days, usually about 48 hours. We'll get that posted. And if you'd like to share that with anybody that you know would like to hear this webinar, please feel free to do that. It'll be on YouTube and our Brain Injury Alliance of Iowa webpage. And also, everybody will be getting out an email with their certificate of attendance, and along with a survey to a link to a survey so you can provide your feedback for the webinar tonight. Thank you everyone for being on, and I hope you have a good rest of your evening.